Ḥaśnaaqwtí. Well, Wooshjix wooshla. Maybe he dissolved into the wind. There should be 2 pages of one and a bunch of pages of the other. I had them like kind of stacked. Never lasts. Wasak yourself get your graphic TV.
Yeah, it changes like every week or so.
Last I heard it was something about a douche.
I think it's kind of going back to Wooshjix.
Oh, Wooshjix, okay.
Maybe it'll become Wooshjix.
Kristin Dush, the monstrous tadpole, is that what they call them? Tad?
Douche.
Oh, it does.
You ever say a word and it just sounds wrong? What do you call that thing that goes around that building over there on the 2nd floor? You can walk around the outside. Is there a word for something like that? Walkway?
Pathway?
Pathway?
Something like that?
It's 8. No, it's not
Not
it's
really
8 because it's
it's
8
not
is
really-
stacked boards.
Stairs?
I was gonna say balcony, but it's more like a. What? I don't know.
Kindeya na good day. Or maybe Kinde Dakahiti Da Day Day. Get it? All right, does everybody online have the handouts? There's 2 handouts. It came shortly before class. One might have come earlier. I thought I sent it because I didn't see my outbox. Cheat Wolf, you have the 2 handouts? Ḥaajaaḳwtí. Okay. Ḳaajaaḳwtí. Ḵaajaaḵwtí. Are you there? Huh? Okay. Okay. I thought I sent one like around 2 or 3, but then I didn't see my outbox, so maybe it's stuck in a draft somewhere. And I sent it just now, which I know you're not able to get. So you'll have to just sort of follow along. There's going to be a long string of listening with a goal, which might be hard. But we'll go sentence by sentence afterwards so you can follow along. Aftercut Johan Ḥaajaaḳwtí to us to go shukwa ayatin the Ďakáťwtí Wooshjix Ḥaajaaḳwtí. Yahlil ko has yitud haswuti Ḥaajaaḳwtí Ďakáťwtí. Ḳaajaaќwtí. Achawi yitu Wooshjix. Ya Ḥaajaaḳwtí ya hasditunditani adat Ḥaajaaḳwtí. Kehina Ḳaajaaḳwtí. Dakyanachsa Ḥaajaaḳwtí Ḥaajaaḳwtí. 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 Tleshtasa ayachkuke Ḥaajaaḳwtí. Shkate. Tleshtakatana. Awa Ḥaajaaḳwtí. Taik. Yewe Achtunditani. Yes, the cut November. Jen cut Katekegi. Hatundatani dat yo Ḳaajaaḳwtí. Ḳaajaaḳwtí. Ťaakutaqqa ani Ḳaajaaḥasqullaqaunuch. Wal atatina Ḳaajaaќwtí. Ťatasa atina Ḳaajaaќwtí yiqatiya chawe. Akawahil shan ate aya hasbugud. Hasbu art. Yo Ḳaajaaḳwtí. Afina kawani gadad which aguai. Wooshjix Éesh. Qanaqtutundatani dat with Tlingit Ḥaajaaḳwtí. Ďaak'wtí duyuqatangi aya utisa akhi Ḳaajaaḳwtí. But has duyuqatangi tunach Tlkat at dat Wooshjix atki utusitin yatlekach inach Perfective. Ye wunei at Tlingit inach perfect. Ye wunei. Aqa Tlekach inach ya future. Ye kaguchsanei at. Ye guchsanei at Tlingit inach. Kehinakach inakawuni kedach. Ye kunach tuasagu Tlkat at ya Tlingit grammar atunach aya gach tu sa Tlingit sa. Aqa Tlingit yogatangi tin. Adat aya Wooshjix gach tu sa at. Yadua. Aqa kunach gach tu satin. Yuchita Tlingit yogatangi. Ayego genki ayuhansu. Chawayo Ḳaajaaḳwtí yagi. Hayuqatangi kach. Qtullaqau. Yuqatangi kach. Qunaillaqau. Ye aya. Chatlaq away hayuqatangi. Wooshkanaqwtí da'ati. Wasagu gwatgin saway aqaq wasagu kunach just Hellidalli at utuoti. Chahad hadisehu yach hatunach ya uchayach ayuqatangi. Ya kunach ach tuwasagu tlkatyuwa. Ya hasti yuqatangi tunach shedeheni at gach tu ach. Ya kunach ach tuwasagu. Yeshedeheni dat away. Wooshjix yuqatla'at. Ya Tlingit qusti. Tlingit yuqatangi. Qullaqau tlain. Ḥaajaaḳwtí. Yauk in qusti. Ďaak'wtí. Yelkatabu. At kukedi. Ya kunach hasti yuqatangi datqa. Hayuqatangi tunach ye aya qusti. Just hayuqatangi tunach. Ye hayuqatangi qud. Chawa ya Ḳaajaaḳwtí tunach aya qusti yibutusaki. Hayuqatangi. Kasi ye at aya hayuqatangi tunach. Tlkat hayuqatangi. Tlingit yuqatangi tunach. Ďaak'wtí. In hasakawuni kashishko has qaha atuskuchu. Achowe kunach ach tundatani dat aya. Ya kunach tukhbutan. Ada Wasa Tlingit yuqatangi shtutiltu. Wasa we aqa qunay hasdilishko hasdu itch aya jantu a. Hayuqatangi tunach. Aqa tlkatat tlaill wasa kakwati. Adaj khankisani. the Ţaajaaḳwtí, Wooshjix, Ťaaḵwtí, Tlingit Linguistics, Ḥaajaaḳwtí, Ḥaajaaḳwtí, Wooshjix, Ҭaajaaҟwtí, Ḥaajaaḳwtí, Tlingit Linguistics, Ḥaajaaḳwtí, 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 Ḥaajaaḳwtí pinnaħċajisu Tlingit Ħaajaaḳwtí, Ḥaajaaḳwtí Ḥaajaaḳwtí, Wooshjix. Anything you guys want to say?
I have a question, if that's all right. So the word kanashu, I learned it as kawashu, which to be drunk. How, if I said that alone, what exactly does it mean? Because I've been saying it for a while and I don't know if I'm using it right.
Kawashu comes from, the verb comes from suffering. Ishandain kawashu, he or she suffered. So you could say, Ḳaajaaḳwtí ishandain hakawashu, you really suffered. And then kanashu is the act, I think, of getting drunk. The different form of the verb. So the verb would be kawashu. And most often we're using it sort of as a, we're using it as a verb, sort of a past tense state verb in English. Oh, he's really kawashu, or even he's kawashu. So then you could say kanashu is like, I think you'd say he's drunk right now. So, yeah. But I have to look more at that verb and specific uses. Usually it's just used as a noun. Now you're talking about drunkenness.
I've been working a bit on kinship,
Mm-hmm.
and I've not been able to find a way to address my first cousins who are vegan.
Usually it would be Ḥaajaaḳwtí.
Okay.
It would be Ḥaajaaḳwtí, unless, like say your father's people, for example, were Ḳaajaaḵwtí. And if they're Ḳaajaaḳwtí, if they were male, they'd be Ḥaajaaḳwtí. Unless they were really close to you, then you could even call them Éesh, sort of symbolically. If they're female, then you could call them Ḥaajaaḳwtí. And then, so as far as how we use kinship as well, your first cousins, usually your cousins that you see along that same generation as you, it's usually Ḥaajaaḳwtí, unless they have the name of someone who also, like if someone has the name of your grandpa, Éesh is still what you call them. But the kinship term, it's pretty, there's sort of a catch-all. Ḥuni would be same clan, similar, just same generation. Ḳaajaaḳwtí would be opposite clan, same generation, but no obvious clearness. And that's the kinship term you should be using with them as well. And this would go for like, and we did a kinship exercise, which we'll do maybe next week. It was pretty fun, so just to get your brains thinking about it, someone starts as the me, like let's say I'm the me, and then everybody picks a kinship term. You could be Éesh, Ḥaajaaḳwtí, or whatever, and we go around, everybody picks a way that they're related to me, but then we figure out how everybody's related to each other. And we really simplify it, and we have clan A, clan B. It doesn't matter who you really are, we just do an exercise. I got it from Ḳaajaaḳwtí and Yucatan. And it was fun. We took a couple of tries to figure out how to do that. But it also helps us to see how those lines can sort of work. Especially, so if you go one generation down, same clan as you, Éesh, opposite clan, Ḥaajaaḳwtí. And it doesn't matter, you know, boy, girl, it doesn't really matter. And then if you go one generation up, you've got Ḥaajaaḳwtí, and then Ḥaajaaḳwtí, and then Ḥaajaaḳwtí, and Ḥaajaaḳwtí. So then you've got these sort of, and it's really, it seems to be just a generational thing. more like within the clan or out. And there's certain kinship terms that work as well. Like if you have a hun, I could use that for somebody who is sort of the same generation as me, but we become really close friends, and maybe he's Ḳaajaaḳwtí and I'm Tlingit, but I could still call him my older brother. Because it's just, kinship terms also symbolize a relationship. And then it could also fall apart, and I wouldn't call him that anymore. So those are, they're dynamic, they can change. Anything else? All right, so we got a plan today. Well, this is the Perfective handout, part 1. We keep sort of adding to this. It says page 1. I don't know what I'll do. I think once we get them all done, maybe I'll hand out a full one. But this is trying to fill in a little bit more information, including having the prefix strings there. And this one, the prefix strings change a little bit for the perfective. They get a little bit more interesting because what you've got is you've got a set. These will always be plus I if they're perfective. They're perfective and they're sort of the verb exists on its own in a sentence. It will always be a plus I classifier. So then you're going to have Ḳaajaaḳwtí and then whatever the root is. And if you want to find what the root should be, we'll get into stem variation and we'll get into conjugation prefix. So you'll know how to look at the verb by looking up the theme, and then you'll know which ones to apply. But we said, if you're wrong on the stem variation, people are still going to absolutely understand what you're saying. The prefix string is more important because that's the information about who's doing it and maybe to whom, and also what the classifier should be, which helps us see the verb. So when we look at these classifier strings, we would look at first person singular, first person plural, second person singular, second person plural, third person, 3 on 3, and then the independent human, which is the verb just happens. And so if we wanted to use those, we just throw the root right at the end of it. So these strings give us everything that would be in there, including, in this case, the subject marker, the perfective marker, and the classifier. And then we attach the root at the end. Ḥaajaaḳwtí, right? Ḥaajaaḳwtí. Okay. Wooshjix. If we flip it over, and this first, we got these prefix strings, and this is where the linguistics. Linguistics, it gets pretty fun. Okay, so now you've got something with no thematic prefixes like wugut, sateen, sati, yati, right? These are things, there's no thematic prefix, there's nothing that comes up. And the thematic prefixes that are most common, ka, j, ka, tu. And we're going to see ya, and these things are popping up all over the place, and we're going to get used to them. So then there's 3 more, so they come in these sets of 2, and I'll probably try and make it a little bit more clear that there's a set of 2. So if we go back to page 1, prefix combination, no thematic prefix, we have 4 classifier groups, 0, S, L, and SH. Underneath that is the same set, no thematic prefix, 0 plus D, S plus D, L plus D, SH plus D. This is just saying it's the same classifier group, but the verb is plus D, which we're working on marking that more clearly in the theme. So when you turn the page, the next one is a CA thematic prefix. And what we do with Tlingit Linguistics, is we try to code things in a way so that you can fill in the blanks. And even though it starts to look really sort of foreign, it's like neither Tlingit nor English. We learn if there's a capital C, that means that could be any given consonant. So the reason it's done that way is you can have ka as a thematic prefix, ya as a thematic prefix, and this will be the same. Ḳaajaaḳwtí, Ďaақwtí. So that C means fill in the blank with a consonant, the rest will not change. Right? So if you see a verb, ka blank, 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 neek, kaneek, to tell someone something. Ḳaajaaḳwtí, Ţingit, Ķiyaneek, Ķaajaaḳwtí, Ķaajaaḳwtí, Ķaajaaḳwtí. So what we see is we're starting to learn how to fill in the blanks on the different sides of this, but it's giving us that prefix combination. And if we can use these charts enough, we will start to sort of memorize that stuff. And as we start to sort of figure it out, and we're using this middle language of linguistics to help us with our Tlingit, eventually we won't need this stuff, but it'll be there in case we do. So those are what we call CA thematic. Ka and ya are obvious examples. Ka would also Ḳaajaaḳwtí, Iyatan, Ķaayi, At. And then we get to the next group down, which is CI. J is the most obvious one. Can't think of one off the top, another one off the top of my head. So you could say Ḥaajaaḳwtí, 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 right? So we're learning how to fill in that C can become another consonant. So when we start looking again back at those lists of thematic prefixes, what matters is the vowel. The consonant doesn't really matter. The vowel is the one that's going to affect the shape. For the future, it's not as big a deal. So we don't have to start breaking it down because you get a lot more sort of constants in the future. And then the last pair is with the U. So t or shl. So Ťaaақwtí. Well, those ones are hard because the verb changes when you throw away. But so then what you're doing is just learning how to change that consonant. So you can put that prefix together and you can learn how to conjugate these verbs. So the idea is to use all of these resources that are there, the dictionaries and everything else, but to start really learning some of these verbs so you can just conjugate them immediately. You can just recall them, how these combinations get put together. Okay? Gouache. Yay! Welcome back. Keep looking at it.
And you have Éesh on the same one, as he held him, her, it. So is that the same that I'm thinking of like to grab something?
Yeah.
But can it be like, when I read that, I think of like holding a baby or something.
Oh, okay.
Or is it different?
No, it's the same verb. But it would work the same. For a baby, you'd probably use a different verb. There was the theme of General Assembly, I think it was last year. Ḳaajaaḳwtí, do you remember it? Kinde Ṭuṭqishaat, Kinde Wooshjix, maybe. Which is hold each other up. It was a command form, so I'm remembering it wrong. Kinde Ṭuṭqishaat, maybe. Lift each other up. So it can be used for catching it. It could be used for grabbing it. It could be used for holding it. When you see someone and they speak Tlingit and you want to flirt with them, Ḥaajaaḳwtí. Thank you for grabbing my eyes. Cue the music.
Say it again.
Ḥaajaaḳwtí. Baby.
Oh.
I'm not encouraging anything here, except for raising babies and But so it can also be used for cat, and it can also be used to like, I imprisoned somebody. So it has all, and so what we learned, right? Which is maybe, thank you for imprisoning me. We're not even going anywhere. But so there's a term for like a jailer, I think, and some other ones where it's like they've been imprisoned. So it has all these different meanings, and there's a lot of verbs that do this, where it depends on the context, right? And I think you can get that with English, right? Shoot, for example. Depends on the context, right? Shoot the ball. Shoot the deer. Oh, shoot. Right. But we usually know. And same with Tlingit. Just get lots of meanings. Ķaajaaḳwtí. There it is. Cheesh. Ḥaajaaḳwtí. I knew he had it. Comes from Joe Hodge. Anything else? Do you happen to have two different colored pens? I forgot to mention. Okay. Well, maybe we'll make do. So here's the mission. Anybody else got any questions? Everybody okay? Okay, we're going to listen to a stretch of Tlingit that's about 45 minutes long. It's the conversation between Wooshjix and Ḳaajaaḳwtí. We might have watched it before, I don't know. They cover some really amazing content. We watched it today at noon as well. At the end, they start talking about war and combat veterans and what we would call in English and psychology PTSD. So talk about things like that. But since this is the upper echelon of Tlingit, how would you say that? The ones who are beginning to master it. What I would like you to do is you get this handout. And as you're going through and you're Dasa?
I got a question.
Gook.
For the Gáajaaḳwtí shot, is that a conditional?
It's a command. It's a plural command.
Okay.
Ḥaajaaḳwtí is the singular. Gáajaaḳwtí. Just get really bossy with it. Y'all grab it. Y'all hold it. Y'all, in this case, the key. So the key is way up high. Is the prefix that tells us for something to be located there, to reside there. Wooshjix. Hold each other up high, right? So we got a. It's gonna come out probably as a plus D verb if we were to put it in other forms, because the woosh is there. The woosh can sometimes push it into that plus D mode. The verb might actually be plus D to begin with. I don't mean saying it's just a shot. And then and then the chush, or which contracts to sh, can also push it into plus D as well. Okay. I always jump in with questions. I figure we've been doing, talking about breaking it down and doing all this stuff so much, it's good to just sort of shift over and just listen to some Tlingit for a while. We're going to have a mission. Your mission is to find what appear to be the perfective and future verb modes that they're using here. And then we'll come out and we'll just sort of talk about the things that they've gone over. There's a lot of people gone today, so maybe we'll just hold our sentences in our very short story for next week, Tuesday. There's no class again on Thursday. Those of you online, especially Chief Woo, because we've got incredible staying power. I'd like to set up maybe just a video chat with you or a phone call, so we just make sure everything's going well, see if you got any additional questions. And others who are online and who maybe don't make it as much these days, Try and gaff them back in. Has, I don't know what the conjugation is. Ḳaajaaḳwtí. I'm going to gaff. Has Ḳaajaaḳwtí. There might be a K in there, or probably a Y in there. Has Ďaak'wtí. Okay. So we're going to go through, so think of something maybe like a star, and then star one, and a circle one, or underline one, and circle one. However you want to do it, so you're sort of differentiating. Now, I was going to bring multicolored pens, but I forgot. But you don't have to worry necessarily on the first run through. So maybe the first run through, just listen and just watch them. Like, listen to the pace of the way they're using the language. You know, so one of the dangers of studying Tlingit in the ways that we do is that we create an interruption to fluency, because we're always coming out to speak in English, or we're always sort of doing technical sort of things with the language, which we'll come back to do. But now and then it's good to sort of say, okay, let's not do that, let's just listen. And let's just work on our comprehension for a while. You know, so there'll be English on the screen for you. But really just sort of focus on the speaker and what they're doing, the rhythm, the way that the language is working. And then when we come back through, we'll just sort of look through this, maybe each take turns reading a sentence, since not all of us have the handouts in the class. And then we'll just say, okay, where are the perfective and future verbs, and what else do we want to talk about? Now this is some pretty hardcore Tlingit, so there might be things where we've got to go and ask some other speakers about. There's some chunks in here. If you guys spot something that you think is maybe an error, a transcription error, which happens all the time, there's a whole team of people that have been working on this, but translation lasts forever.
So on the first page, Ḳaajaaḳwtí's name is spelled differently on like the bottom line and then in the title.
Yeah, the two A's on the top.
And then it's underlined on the top, the second K, and I wasn't sure.
That's how it should be.
Okay.
So, yeah, okay. So they're both wrong. If you combine them, you have it correctly. Underline K, AA, J, AA, underline K, WT, high tone A. Ḳaajaaḳwtí. Building around there is named after him. His Tlingit, like really, there's a point at about, you know, and so it's intense to listen to 40 minutes of Tlingit. It is. What I want to do and what I want to work on the next semester or two is all these amazing recordings that Wooshjix has produced for us. I want to make the audio available to download so you can just listen to it. And you can also watch it, but that way you can just sort of continue looking at things like this. I think it helps. You come at Tlingit from all angles. You spend time with fluent speakers, you engage with each other in language, you engage with fluent speakers in language, you push yourself to do things that you probably can't do yet, but you want to ride a bicycle, eventually you start riding that bicycle, whether you've mastered it or not. And then you listen to stretches of Tlingit, you pick the language apart, you learn these rules of putting it back together. So you get come at it, I think, from all of these. But it is about 40 minutes, so it's going to take up a good chunk of class. I don't know, we'll probably have to come back at it Tuesday, but Tuesday we will listen to the whole thing. Those of you who are online, you can watch it through the class. It might come through a little chunky. And then I'll try to, maybe I'll try to send a DVD copy over to Ďaak'wtí so you guys have it there. So to get to this, if you ever want to watch it, you go to I'm going to switch to screen share here. So let me back. So go into the UAS homepage, uas.alaska.edu, is where these conversations are held. Wooshjix Wooshjix dunia, Nakisan, Dashjini, Jutin, Khat, Ādishavu, Shakhsani, Ḳaajaaḳwtí, Ḥeqni. There were a lot of people who had their hands in this project. Huge undertaking. I can't remember how many hours of recorded Tlingit she got. It was amazing. How many hours of transcribed and translated Tlingit she got. Aguskini Shakich. Echasagudasowe Kasank. Aguskini Shakich.
When he or she or it gets lazy, gaff him in the head.
There we go. I'll have to bring a gaff to class then. Hey, Udaka! We're doing, I've probably told you this a million times. We're doing like responses to Ḥaajaaḳwtí. We're in car cross and somebody said, Ḥaajaaḳwtí. And it was this kind of amazingly fitting moment. This elder says, why don't you say it like it really is? Udaka. That's like, I'm lazy. I wrote that one. So it was pretty hilarious. And Ḥeesh. Okay, so if you go to the UAS website, down here in the bottom right is a little widget. Is that what this thing is called? Ḥaajaaḳwtí widget again. It's a little thing. It's a little navigation window. If you click to the left. We're conversing together. Or I would probably say people talk to each other. Conversation is probably the way to translate that. The goal behind this project, there's a link there you can click on, was we had an awful lot of recorded Tlingit, but it was really primarily Nora, but also several other people who had gone around and done a lot of recording. I think Das Ya had some. Robbie Littlefield has made some. There's a guy on Saxon. Henry Denny had a bunch. George Davis has quite a few. But it's mostly one person going to another single person. Tell me this story. Tell me this clan narrative. So it's sort of one person doing this long stretch of oratory. What would she taught to us go? Wish in your heart to at catch sugar at away ya skashnig ha who you hatangi and katik your hatangi yedu saku at to catch sugar at just wish in your heart to telling a story is not the same in Tlingit as just sitting around talking. And also, public speaking is not the same. So we've got lots of examples of that. Not to say we don't need to keep studying that. But we didn't have a lot of examples of what do just speakers do when they're just talking to each other. And so there's about 70 different recordings on here, 76, so it doesn't always go in sequence. And they have transcriptions on them and translations. The window to watch them on is a tad small. This is number 54 on this list if you guys want to watch it again.
You can full screen the video, but you're not able to see the text yet.
So when you click on it, this window opens. From here, you can hit Control A if you wanted to, and you can copy. That's how I made this transcript. I was just copying all of the text. It takes a little bit of maneuvering to get it into a document that's sort of English, Tlingit on one side, English on the other. But what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in on this a little bit so that we can see it. And we're just going to listen to this. It's amazing. You'll hear how they're thinking about things and how that affects their language. And pay attention to the concepts, the words that they're using. There's a couple of fantastic metaphors that are in here. And then there's just some really, really incredible information about identity and other things. And then we'll come out and when we come back next week, we'll take a close look at the language as well. Yes, and there's an example. Okay, got it.
Ja, Saio, yo, ja, sind eigentlich getan, Kai, das tu, ein Wooshjix, just as active, sind eigentlich aus der Kuh, ja, das ist Kesa Ḳaajaaḳwtí, you took a tongue in the scene. At Ḳaajaaḳwtí tunach a you has to eat the tune the change out. Has to then was a kuya at Ḳaajaaḳwtí that Kashnik. Yeah, Ақтваси kuya tuchka in Kaktelik. Я хата Ḳaajaaḳwtí юхадевасак ангундах хагиди анхакит юдевасак аватиш анхакитан юхатесак юд эниди ая я нахсатир ая делхалхайна Walter Sogelak юхадевасак ахкатако the cake handed Ḳaajaaḳwtí the Éesh Ḳaajaaḳwtí. I am other Ḳaajaaḳwtí ya Tlako. Yake he at the Sargut Tlako Éesh Ḳaajaaḳwtí. It was Éesh Ḳaajaaḳwtí. Ja, Éesh, de Éesh Ḳaajaaḳwtí ya Khushka Єхати. Asingit and the Tane aya Oyachate. Yes to ख़aajaaḳwtí. Yes to ख़aajaaḳwtí. Who again Wooshjix to the town. Singit away. Wooshjix to the town. Our Yedosak, Éesh Ḳaajaaḳwtí. Éesh Ḳaajaaḳwtí. Yake Ḳaajaaḳwtí ख़aajaaḳwtí and Yana. Singit and the Tane ख़aajaaḳwtí at Ḳaajaaḳwtí Ḳaajaaḳwtí which for the Yade at a Tunach Ḳaajaaḳwtí. A Tunach Ḳaajaaḳwtí. What Éesh Ḳaajaaḳwtí. What I to ख़aajaaḳwtí. What is ख़aajaaḳwtí? Ťaḥyana Ḳaajaaḳwtí Aqawa Wanik Savarch about it Ḥaaqwtí Kuchkha Atesh Khawasa ख़aajaaḳwtí. Es Ade Stun Ḥaaqaaḳwtí Tlek Te Achtun the Tane. يا أخو يا كنا يا أتكو كيبي كنا يا إيش خاقا إقاق خلق إبواتي أيو إيقاق تو قايشيش قوهشيش إيقاق تو أقاق إيقاق كريستي يوخا أخجنتي يا أتكو كيتي أبي إشاكتي تشيسي أيا أوكي أخو أياف تواسيكو كوتوني هي أستجيس يا يسقى أسقى آخي وانا خسي يا خاخو خوجتي خايت خساني كخواسان حسودتي خم خاسيل كوش تتشخن كريان تتخواسا أوسي خساوسي خن خيا هستو إيشتو خيا هستو خايت خساني ودتي خم أول جاي شتن يتعاقخ كنجي كشتي شاود شارجوا كيس كسوت جن خاطا شد خاطا كيك هسوا يا شاخو أتلتو هسوسيتي يا خالق ديانك أيام يا خاطا إيك هو أوي ينكر خاك دستيجن هو أول يا خايتي تجنشاجي دناخجن قص جن كاتاك ستيواني جن كاتاك قدير دكاك جوك أسوات جن دكاك جوك كيس واسا خاتواتين ياد أنخشك دوا وايتي تقد خوك نكيجن جوجا توسيا قويا خايتك عادة تخنية أتوك خويتي يتيك أتكو جيس يتيك خشتي خياي داتوني أي خاك شاوك دكيش وخشيك أو يتيك خشتي تون خياك وجود أجيام أيش أتكو خشتو إتو كخشتينيت وشكون حياتي أتي إياك كختهام ياك إنواتي خيام يا قشتي تخاتاك وشتي توانا أتونا خيكودي أيا عديش الخجايا نكاد كي خسواتيا وتياندي إخواني أتوه أين كوديا ينجاك أي أكاك شخدو شوجين تاك إيش تاك إيش تايك وينوك إتوقع ستينيت كيس جاخ كاك أي إخوشوج تاك خنخ إكو ستينيت يا إتاتي إكو ستينيت إتوقع ستينيت استكديت ستيني آيخ نستيني أتاك إكتنيكن يا جاكو ستين يا هاي أتاديو أتنكو جيتي أيا ستين يا خيوني يا خاكيس هو أي ستين كينك دكيس كايوني كاكايا وشيسايا Yatuk to Sakum, Yaka, Ajaya, Jag, Yaka, Ken, the Swati, the Shani Jayam, if them to get two year and county, Yaka, and the Shakwatan, Yata. Yeah. I should أقتي يو أخر يخيو كخون دخون وقت يجن شوف سخوت أقايل أودي يو كان قريش يسكاوندي يشكسني أيا كقفتني قسكول أعطي قد شكرت وقايوس أنقوك أيونتي أتيوت تو بفتي يكيو كهوش ودشوش يوفينا أنقاقا يقول إن قرشي إن كاوشو إيشان دين مدو أخوة هسخون هيني وكتكن هسخون هيني وكت خجل عشو قد السواك سيادي هين أتوخ تشوش يوجد هساس أبوشكو كخوان دخندو كتير سيئو يأتكو كيبي ياسكست خط يأكل بنيكي يو ينكولسليكي تخيو خاين كنتنيش وانخسيو خاين كتلسليك يا تاكو يا قطسكود عطيل قستيو شكوك أشي يا أتيو إن كتلسليكي شكتو جيس يسك ياشكسليك يا أتكو كيبي تونخ يخك يا يخوان قدرسيني نارساتي قاتا قاويش قاسيس قاس قاسيس أكس قاكاكاس قدرسيني أجايا خودوتيكو شاو دنيخ قخشاتي يا هكيسك ويا هوجايا قد خاشو وكيك هو أيا هايتيك يندك وهان أجايا يا هانارساتي كيايا كيدياتا أوهان يا هستتو ساتشيني تواتا خياب هادك هودوتيكوتي يا كاكيس ويا هستويتي كاكيتي خيا هاستي أوهان يايكي يا داتخدي تان خاج أجايا وإيشو إتوتو كواسا خسيتي أجايا أداتي هنتو يايكي قادة نتيجة يا تو ساتشي شاودني يايكي تونخ كيس تجا شك تجا كسيديك أت توي هاكوتي سيينا تيني وم استكتها نخشتي يا كويك خوتي يا عادات كوتي يا جايا كختوتي دوش
Gut Anna, Ḳaajaaḳwtí, Éesh Ḥaajaaḳwtí. Has yan hasako, joitikna, has hashuoya. Ya on, Hini has ayheni, has aya, Aktas oat. Aqayus and a Wooshjix, Ḳaajaaḳwtí. Ardusa Yihon Éesh Hastigandiyah Tannis Ďaақaya Ďaaqhan Aya Ďaaqayas Hastigandiyah Ďaaqiskan Anxaya Anikat Hit Yikoch Aqayan Kaudishnuku Ardursas Sati Aqaya Ya on Saatki Ayu Haspesa Kushi Welcome she welcome Ďaaqayas Ya Ďaaqwtí Suras Kushi Aqaya Sayan Hasako Aya Ďaақwtí Wooshjix ayutne Tunach ayu Ďaaqwtí protocol is so Haske ate Hassikruavissatini Shakta Oya Ďaaqwtí 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 Takiyes daar gekajag in has. Ja, kahandik akhoeg. Has koentje koekei. Aan kach. Wooshjix wordt aardig. Goed aan de ati. Je gande. Het zeg ach. Wooshjix. Het is Wooshjix. Get wordt aardig. Tlingit je was kan doen. Ḳaajaaḳwtí ja kaaya. Goed zei gewoon. Ḳaajaaḳwtí was als de goede kan doen. Untitled Ţaajaaḳwtí ja aan je Ḳaajaaḳwtí is de skijan. Ja aan als je heen koos ja ja anders als je heen was koos dus de geoornis nou Ḳaajaaḳwtí kiesdans de schikte was als je toch ook in die 15 jaar kiesdans en dan leg je ja goos als toch ook in die zoals ik hoorde ja Ṭlingiṭ Ḥaajaaḳwtí Ťaajaaḳwtí
Wooshjix Prefix Strings Ḳaajaaḳwtí Ḳaajaaḳwtí ja tuuket Ḥaajaaḳwtí Ṭlingiṭ ja Prefix Strings
Ďaďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáďáď Éesh addicted to the Ťaaxa Ťaaďaáxwtí Tlingit It's a 2 year to Ďaaďaáxwtí take a signature at the Sikay at the Ďaaďaáxwtí Hashagun Káajaaḳwtí Káajaaḳwtí Ajayate Uman Yayaki. It's a lots of years. Many generations. Alaska, Kirk, it was a Ťaaďaáḳwtí, Ťaaďaáḳwtí, Ťaaďaáḳwtí. I guess that was the out to hide. You work on the head, Ḳaajaaḳwtí, and you one day. Ťaaďaáḳwtí. One of the Tia. First, the 2 years to Ďaaďaáḳwtí Ķaajaaḳwtí with the name. Awanik Sawanana, Awanana, whatever to Oya Ḳaajaaḳwtí, Tlingit Ajaya Ḳaajaaḳwtí Nature. The Ďaaďaáḳwtí, Sawiskooch, the Ďaaďaáḳwtí. Ďaaďaáḳwtí, Ďaaďaáḳwtí. Wanik Sawat, Ķaajaaḳwtí Kakeko. Yayitati Yasankit Aniken Kusakaken Yawuki. Uhansoti Atuye Hawuti, Atuye Hawuti. Jaak Atu, Awa Atuda Hastituna Kia Ḳaajaaḳwtí. I went just to the town of Tilkawa, Nilkden Hasune. Achaya Ahoaya Avansin Ḥaajaaḳwtí Ḳaajaaḳwtí Ҭūkhaāwtī Wāti Ḥaajaaḳwtí Ḥaatunda Tāne. Ḥaajaaḳwtí Wāti Ḥaajaaḳwtí Ҭūtūnaka. Ķawāsa Hakaita Tutuiji. Ķawānsu Ḥaajaaḳwtí Ahoayūti. Adukṣichadaya Ḥaajaaḳwtí Ḥaawuti Ḥaajaaḳwtí. Ahoan Atudhasjudanaka. Ḥaajaaḳwtí. Ḥaajaaḳwtí. Akhid Atuyewuti. Dakhtahi. Ḥaajaaḳwtí Katoxatij. Wanik Sawit Hushye Koskitajo Ḥaajaaḳwtí. Ķaśakta Ḥaajaaḳwtí Akhid. Akhid. Dakhtahi Atuyewuti. Ķaśakta Ḥaajaaḳwtí. The Hunakataki Katatla. Takta Ḥaajaaḳwtí Nut. Yegunaskik Ha. Kadeyati Ḥaajaaḳwtí Ķaahmi Dawakhaniki Inha. Kadinati Ķapasaka. Ahoan Atud Khashwag. Chikanautu Khotaska Kuch. I said to us, Katasawu, Atuna Khasyawa, as crowds, is to a teacher, Janatuna, Ḳaajaaḳwtí. So he never Khanika was for the yard, other Ha'insati, yes, and with on it can Kakuchi, our answer to Naxatiha, Kweswa Echo, Isiku, the soldiers was Kanevi Kamarine, and for Weil Ďakujem za teach. Ja, stipusti Ďakujem Juma neka chova. Često se katas ahova kao jevu neha. Je kajata tude juhatu tatgana. Ja nisko usko šako utusikoha tutovane. Atunahi ati ja Ḳaajaaḳwtí. Ten Ḳaajaaḳwtí soljo Ḳaajaaḳwtí. Kesho se kasoljo kudanik kek. Joya asika asiyah. Kes ten Ḳaajaaḳwtí Ḳaajaaḳwtí. Yo Afrika kawa atas kusikam. Ten Ḳaajaaḳwtí anta unas. Yo aso kisedi kawa kuti hansika. You are doing the Ďakujem ja de koutje. De toer goed, de woordje. En wij de dena zo, dus je wel hoe schad, hoe doet ze neer. Haast me ik oude koutje. Oh ja, de toer goed, haast me ik oude doet ze neer. Je oude gansje dat niet. Kan dat ja. The true story away and I did it. One because you can do a 2 times sector, so it's a quick down.
I say coconut cheese or that cookie cooked up out of the time. Ja, yeast kan Éesh kenne Ḥaajaaḳwtí konach Ḥaajaaḳwtí Ḥaajaaḳwtí Ťaakuyah Ḥaajaaḳwtí keto atstinusi Yana tutu Ḥaajaaḳwtí Ḥaajaaḳwtí astu inşkatishniknish Takatya atkuketi yehtat kasnik Gutsatu heni gutsa aoni Ḳaajaaḳwtí Wasa kakaktusti ayo Atya Ḥaajaaḳwtí Ḥaajaaḳwtí Wooshjix yuqatus atki atitu akhchiya aya kauqawa aya kunach chishi tarqa akhtaat qarshish akhani watas kutsatki siku Ďakujem sejč, Wooshjix, až a tu se a Ḳaajaaḳwtí wasiyak teleňadat qocheyad aya Ḳaajaaḳwtí nixiyasya.
Ja, Ķaajaaḳwtí atqati. Weham hajijuduti adequash. The hekse kagat a toeteen, uitkijken hen gaat geoos. Gaan kan dan niet was heel achter zich ja goed goed kou uit kou nek lily white na dag. De geit kou dus je was hier kachisachich, ja Ďakujem ja Hanauer ichik was hier kachich, was hier nieuwtje kachine acho, ja kou in kachwane kosi ja to, kou wat het dende akashit kou ja. Akadach kikendista, Church Tlingit Ḳaajaaḳwtí Ekena Ḳaajaaḳwtí كنا ثقافتي إن لكي أخيك أخوة حسسك أخيك أسكك سكو أسكك سكويت أسكك سكويت كنا شيش
Ďaďkoti. You got the CDs I sent you? I mean DVDs. Yeah. So I'll crank it through as fast as I can. Ḳaajaaḳwtí. Ţaayxí Ḳaajaaḳwtí.
Wooshjix, no.
Okay. That was a pretty good stretch of Tlingit. 30 seconds, any thoughts? There's lots to talk about. We're going to come back into this thing on Tuesday with the idea that we're going to sort of see how the languages function as well. Lots of different things, but take this sheet and just take a look for perfectives and future forms. There's lots of other forms that we're going to learn that we'll see that are in here, but don't worry about that. If there's a little sort of I suffix on the perfective, that's fine. We'll just go ahead and try and spot those as well. Those aren't changing too dramatically, although there might be some shifts. Especially just straight perfectives and straight future forms. There's a lot of them in here. And then we'll see how they're sort of using them and how the language is working. There's probably lots of things that we could talk about with this as far as how the language is working. There might be some things where we got to go ask some people about different concepts that are here. Ḳaajaaḳwtí in particular spoke what they call like a really older form of Tlingit. So, but Éesh, see you guys on Tuesday. Thursday we got the movie, Cherokee Word for Water. Come check it out. It's at the rec center, same time as our class we usually meet. Tuesday we'll also go through everybody's future sentences and their little short stories. Éesh.